Hello and welcome to another episode of me sharing my love of knitting here on YouTube. This is my channel called aKnittersSoul. My name is Elo and I am coming to you from Oslo, Norway. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me. And if you're a new viewer, I do hope you like my content. And if you do, don't hesitate hitting that subscribe button, because then you'll be getting notifications when I upload my episodes. So yeah, housekeeping is simple today. As always, I will be linking everything I mentioned down below, that being patterns, Yarnshops, podcasters. I will be mentioning some today. And if I do miss out on something, then do not hesitate on reaching out to me and I will provide you with your or with the information that you desire. Also, all of my giveaway winners have reached out and they have been sent the packages. One was in Norway, one was in Ireland, and the last one turned out to be in New Zealand. I do not think she's received one per today yet, but I hope it's not far away from you and that you'll be able to enjoy that yarn soon, and the project bag, which was so beautiful. So yeah, let's get straight into what I'm wearing. And what I'm wearing today is also a finished object. This is my Wilfreda jumper by Wenche Roald. Last time I showed it to you, I think I had just gotten past the yoke bit with the texture, and I had just the body and the sleeve left to knit, and those pretty much flew off the needles in a day or two. Because this is knit on a quite loose gauge. It's knit on 6 millimeters on the body and then 4.5 in the ribbing. Yeah, it's a very simple and very addictive pattern. I absolutely love it. I knit mine out of I had this huge hank of Villa Silla Old Rose, I believe it is. I absolutely love and adore this color. It's a little bit darker than it's showing off on the camera, but yeah, this is like the color it is really, but I see that it's kind of blowing out when I get it close to. And I paired it with Tynn Kid-Silk Erle Dale garn, and I think this one was called Dark Rose. And I thought it was just a beautiful match. I loved how these yarns complement each other. They're not too far apart, and that was kind of the look I was going for. I wanted them to be quite similar because I really did fall in love with this color, and I just had this vision that I needed to be quite the same and not clash too much or vary too much from it. It is an addictive pattern. It is very easy to wear because of it. Yeah, I can go up a bit. It's a little bit longer in the back. Yeah, it's a little bit longer in the back than it is in the front, so it's very easy to throw it over your dress, skirt, shorts, trousers. Yeah. And when I was knitting this, and when I got to try it on, I was like, well, this is like a love note or your ranunculus, which is really easy to wear, fun to knit and easy to wear. And there are not a lot of garments I knit many times, but this is one of them where I ended up making quite a few, as you will see, and I have planned for another one. But yeah, the second one I made, I didn't plan for, but I just love the pattern, and I just saw some yarn in my stash which I wanted to use up. So this is my second one. I can pop it on very quickly. Oh yeah, and this is aKnittersSoul by Sari Norlund. Don't remember the name straight away. I will write it down on the screen. I made this last summer. It's out of Saffron by Drops, I believe it is. Also love, love, love. I'm thinking of making more of them because it's very easy to wear. Also very lovely pattern, well written. But yeah, back to my Wilfreda. Absolutely love and adore this one as well. I mean, it is such an addictive pattern. So fun to knit. Yeah, I had that skein of mohair yarn by Strikkefeber that was given to me by my man in Christmas as an advent gift. And I just suddenly had this idea of that I wanted to put it into this jumper. I knew I was not gonna have enough for the whole jumper. So what I did was that I went in the stash and I found this mint colored, there it is, mint colored Rauma Finull, and had that as a base on the top part with a white, or actually off-white knitting for olive mohair yarn. And when I was done with the texture bit or the yoke bit, I switched to a white Finull, Rauma Finull as the wool yarn, and then I held it double with the mohair. So I thought like the white mohair would kind of dampen the minty color here, and here I would like turn it around so that, yeah, I think you get what I'm trying to say. I knew I was not gonna have enough, so I was kind of contemplating how I should do it, if I should have a if the body should have some white at the end of it, or I wasn't sure when I first started with it. But when I started knitting, I decided I wanted the body to be all the way with knitted with the hand dyed mohair yarn. So what I did was, because there are some because there's quite a bit of white in this yarn, or like light spots in the yarn, I decided to stripe in just the white mohair and finish it off with yeah, like ending the sleeves, or let's just in this white mohair on that white base wool. And I think it turned out really pretty. I'm really pleased with it. I see it looks quite good on me, even though like I don't find like this minty color to be my color. So I am contemplating of having it maybe as a gift. But like when I look at it on the screen, it actually looks quite good. So I guess maybe I just need some color, some sun, which we have been getting a little bit lately. But what I'm trying to get to is, like, if you do have this one special skein of mohair yarn that you don't know where to put it to, kind of, this is a way of using it, definitely. And the fun thing is, like, when I skeined up this hank of mohair, the halo that was standing out of the ball of yarn was actually this kind of minty color. That was just like a perfect match. So I'm really pleased with this. And yeah, I didn't knit only 2 of them. I ended up knitting through a third one as well. And that actually came about because I had just cast off this one, and I was going to a knit day out in Kvelle here in Norway. It's like about just under 2 hours for me to drive, maybe 1 hour 45 or so. And I was like, I need something to knit on, and the only thing I had to knit on was a pair of socks, and I thought that's not gonna be satisfying enough, and if I finish them, like, what then? So I grabbed some more yarn from my stash, which was kind of like all my white or off-white finer yarn, and I also grabbed all the yellow mohairs that I had with me, and that's when the third one came about. I will pop that one on as well, but that is a size too big for me because this ended up being for somebody else who loves yellow. And she's a bit more endowed than I am, but blessed by the nature. So this is gonna look a bit big on me, but this is a third one. So yeah, I grabbed those yarns, and I had thought about just knitting one in the same size that I had done before, and then maybe having it as a gift for the girls, my girls, my stepdaughters, my bonus girls. But yeah, then I met this lovely lady there, and she was like, "Oh, are you knitting that for me?" as a joke, and I was like, well, why not? Because I don't have a concrete recipient in my mind. So she tried on my first Wilfreda, and she's like, if you just go up one size, that would be perfect for me. So I did, because it has a lot of positivities, you know, this jumper. So yeah, never mind, I know where I was going at. Anyway, I cast on this one 3 times. So the first time I cast it on was the amount of stitches that was from my size. Then I cast it on the right number of stitches, but I forgot that I was doing a twisted rib. As you see there, it's supposed to be twisted rib. So I cast it on another time, and yeah, started working on this. And it is such a lovely knit. I have a fourth one planned for myself. I have this, I can show you actually. I wasn't going to, but where did I put it? I just had it there. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to revisit that. But anyway, she loves yellow. I love, but not maybe to that degree. So it was actually perfect that she kind of said what she said, wanting to be the recipient of this one. Oh, actually, I'm gonna take it off and show you the fades that I've done. There is a very, like, the finial in the base mostly is like a pure white, like a bleached white, and then there's some off-white, and then it actually goes into on the sleeves in this color, which is actually has a little bit of a green tint to it. I don't remember the name of the yarn, like the name of the color, but it is color 0402. Because yeah, I'll show you. I feel like I'm all over the place, I'm sorry about that. Anywho, the top part is knitted with white base and a white mohair, and then I switched to this. It's a very pale yellow, you can hardly tell it's yellow there, and then into a darker yellow, and then, well, okay, couple of steps back. This is my something new, something old, something borrowed sweater. What I mean with that is that the yellow mohairs that I'm using in this one are actually my leftovers from Koivua light that I knitted in autumn last year. And when I was knitting this, oh, I have still yet to cut away some of the ends there, so don't mind them. When I was knitting this, I did some striping there, but you can still tell, like, you know, that it's a bit of a harsh fade, I would say. And also because it was like leftover yarns, I saw that I was gonna run out of the yarns I had So with that, all that in mind, I decided to buy another yellow, which I was gonna put in between this kind of, I think it's like a corn yellow or so, and between this dark golden yellow. So I did find another one when I came back to Oslo, and I think that worked out really well. And I also faded in like a darker finer at the bottom here as well. But why I call it like something new, something old, and something borrowed is that this is stash yarn. I did buy an extra ball of mohair yarn to be in between those two yellows. You can't even tell, it's so nice, just like the fade. But also I have borrowed a ball of yarn from the recipient's yarn stash. So one ball is from her stash. So yeah, something new, something old, and something borrowed. I know it's supposed to be something blue, but in this case it's something new, old, and borrowed. Yeah. And also, you know, like this pattern it's a quite cropped pattern, and also it calls for sleeves that are 7/8 of a length, so it's not a full length of a sleeve, and she wanted to have full length sleeve, so I added on a couple centimeters, and I ran out of the mohair yarn 2 rounds before the bind off. I was like, no. And I do have another kind of a yellow mohair at home, but that was like just so much more yellow in tone than this golden yellow that I was like, no, it has to be the exact one. So I had to wait all the way until the day after to go to the shop in town and yeah, buy that yarn. And once I had the ball of yarn, I sat down just in front of the shop and knitted on those 2 rounds because I so wanted to finish it, because I mean, I love this pattern. I really, really do. I think it's such a gorgeous, wonderful pattern. And this pattern, actually, I forgot to mention it, but this comes both in Norwegian and in English. So if you like this pattern, I absolutely recommend it. It's very well written. I mean, and it looks so different, like depending on the yarn you choose. I've seen so many beautiful versions of this jumper. The designer herself has made an orange one. I think is so beautiful, and I wish I was more into oranges, because that's just, it looks just amazing. But yeah, just do like a deep dive in your stash, and maybe even not a deep stash, but yeah. And I think actually there's somebody who's done it also with merino yarns, because these are all knit with like a woolly wool, and they are like this kind of perfect in between seasons kind of jumper. Like, yeah, because like summer hasn't really arrived here yet. It's still quite cold at times, and the wind, I mean, like most of the wind is cold, but and so if you don't have the sun, you're freezing, and then it's perfect thing to have on. But actually I think I'm gonna keep it off now, because the sun is coming in now more and more, and I'm gonna be boiling in this room in not long. But yeah, those were my 3 finished Wilfredas. And I mean, I spoke about her just briefly last time, but Wenche does have a lot of beautiful patterns, like a lot of beautiful patterns, and I do want to knit quite a few of them. So you will be seeing some of them in the future. And I do hope that Wenche is gonna take maybe time to translate some more of her patterns into English, because they do deserve to be seen on a bigger scale. I mean, like, I would wish they are not only limited to Norwegian speaking viewers, because they are beautiful. They're very feminine, they're classic. I mean, she's a wonderful designer. Highly, highly recommend. I've also finished some socks. Last time I spoke to you, I showed you these ones. This is Martin's Lab Saffron. Not sure where I put the tag now, actually. I think there maybe. Yeah. It's Martin's Lab. Called the base is called Tough Sock and the colorway is Saffron. It's a 75-25 superwash blend. And I really like them. I think they're fun. I like having color on my feet more than maybe I do. Well, actually, no. I mind less what colors I have on my feet, I guess is what I like. I'm not so restricted by like, oh no, it's gonna take away color from me, because you know, nobody's gonna put the foot up next to the face and be affected by it. And I think this green is by Student Strick, but I'm not sure. I do have two. And as you see, I've knitted one from inside of the ball, one from the outside of the ball. I don't mind. I think it's fun. It shows the how the yarn is when it's hand dyed. It varies from one side to another. It's just the name of the game. I don't mind at all. I think it's pretty. I've used the same striping as I've done many times because it's easy to throw in my purse to take it with me, and I don't need to think too much. I think that's why I keep on going to the vanilla socks, just plain simple. So yeah, and I also thought like, oh, I'll just make another pair from the same ball. That's the same. I just wanted to use it up really because I think it's such a pretty yarn. And I just switched it up by picking up some of the pink speckles and paired it with this sock yarn from Lang Yarns, and yeah. And when I was getting close to the toe, I felt like I wanted to have some like another pink that was softer kind of. So I was picking up those kind of more corally pinks there. But I didn't have much left. This is like leftovers from my Alyssum sweater. So this is me using it up. So I did some micro striping to start off with. I also had some yellow stripes because I wasn't sure how much I needed, to be quite honest, because I never weighed my toes. Maybe I should for next time. I think they came out cute. I know it's the same boring striping there, blending them in, but I love them because they're easy to, like I said, they're easy to bring along. I don't need a pattern to follow. Yeah. But I am thinking about knitting some socks with a lace pattern that I've been like eyeing for the longest of time. It's called Rumpelstiltskins, and I think it's Very Busy Monkey. That's the designer. If not, I will correct myself. But those I've been wanting to knit for a long time. They've been on my radar for the longest of time. But yeah, I've been just busy with knitting other things that have taken my attention. So the socks that I have knitted have been simple just because of that. But I did see a picture on Instagram not long ago where this person had, I think, 4 or 5 different colors, or like knitted these Rumpelstiltskin socks in 4 or 5 different colors, and I thought it was so beautiful. They were all kind of like more or less semi-solid yarns with some speckles in them, and they were so beautiful. I will look for the picture and put it up there because I mean, they're beautiful. I love that. That's gonna be my like next sock on my needles. So those were my big finished objects. I was watching a podcast here the other day. It was Sorry, foot flirting there. I will move you back a little bit. There. I was watching a Norwegian podcast called Den Glade Tråd with Nina, and she was talking about another podcaster called Margrethe's Hobbykrok. And the reason why she was talking about it is that they are hosting, Nina and Tante Grete, which is Auntie Grete, they are hosting a live podcast early September. I think it's the 3rd of September. If it's incorrect, I will correct myself on the screen here. They are hosting a live podcast to bring awareness to children's cancer research. And Margrethe's Hobbykrok, her contribution is gonna be that she's gonna put together a blanket. And what she's asked, so to say, us, her viewers, to do is to knit mitered squares for her, which she can then assemble and then have it as a gift for those who's been donating. I think that's how it goes. Anywho, I thought, well, I do have this perfect yellow yarn because children's cancer awareness is like a golden ribbon, I think it is. So I thought, like, what better way to use up this beautiful, beautiful yarn from Martin's lab than to make these mitered squares. So I did, like, there's 2 of them, and then I still had a tiny tad left, and I made a 3rd one. And yeah, again, these were just some very short leftovers, or like tiny leftovers I had from the Alyssum sweater, the coral hedgehog fibers. Then I had still a little bit left of Martin's lab, which I put there, and I just added in Arvetta, which I think is limelight. So yeah, that's gonna be my contribution to her blanket, I thought. So yeah, I guess those 2 count as finished objects as well, because they are. I'm not gonna be doing anything more to them. I'm not gonna be putting them to a blanket myself. I will ship them to Margrethe, so that by the time they have this happening, she will have a blanket to give away. So those were my finished objects, and I've been really wanting to cast on everything these days. I mean, my inspiration has kind of exploded, and yeah, I just want to cast on everything. And at the same time, I want to like keep myself, so to say, not accountable, but like I want to keep on working on the projects that I do have. And in regards of that, I know I showed a little while ago a jumper that I had started on. Is it Set Isetedal? I'll write the name there. I'm thinking that I'm probably gonna rip that out. I don't think it's bringing me joy at the current moment in these colors. It's not calling me to work on it, so I'm probably gonna rip it out and use the yarn for something else, because I don't see myself making that, even though I think it's a very beautiful jumper. Those colors are not bringing me joy, and I don't think, at least, I'm gonna be making it. Maybe later on in some time, but not for now. Anywho, what I have on my needles. This one was cast on Monday this week. So yeah, about a week ago, I guess. Is my Plant Lady by Agatha Makiewicz. I think it's so pretty. And this is gonna be my mindless knit now, because the difficult part, so to say, is done. This is gonna be my purse knit, which I can just throw in my bag and bring with me. Hence, I don't need simple socks. I can actually get or like start on socks that are a bit more, well, not complicated, but demand a little bit more of concentration, because this is just gonna be straight stockinette now for quite a few centimeters. I don't remember exactly how many. I'm gonna post a picture here because I was gonna show you the pattern picture, but unfortunately the picture that the designer has used as a oh my god, as an example, as a model, or like the model has on her, it's so dark you can't really tell like the beauty of it. But I think the first time I heard about it was in the podcast called The Meaningful Stitch by Amy Palko, and also a Norwegian podcast that reminded me of that pattern called Gunnis English podcast. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, and now that I found the yarn, I just had to cast it on. And the yarn I'm talking about, I feel like I'm rambling all over the place, I'm sorry about that, but it is knit out of, or I'm knitting out of Thin Lina, which is a cotton, linen and viscoses blend. It's a very nice yarn, and I have a lot of beautiful colors. Yeah, and I really actually like working on it. I find that I always have to go down quite a few needle sizes to get gauge when I'm working with this type of yarn, but I don't mind. I think I'm working on 275 now. Yeah, 275s. So it's gonna be like a little while before this is finished, but I don't mind. I really like it. I think it's just so beautiful in its simplicity. So yeah, that is my first working project. The second one I started just a couple of days ago. I have been planning this for the longest of time. Well, not longest of time, it's not that long ago the pattern came out, but I've been wanting to make it sense, and I have gone through slip stitches. I've been thinking about, like, I had a plan of one colorway that I wanted to kind of use for this jumper, but seeing, or like, no, not seeing, I just, with the yarn in my mind, I just couldn't make it work in my head, or like, yeah, it just didn't work out in my head the way I wanted to, kind of like, I just couldn't make it work, I guess is what I couldn't envision it. Anywho, okay, this is like a several step explanation. I'm like gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna be jumping a little bit ahead because it's gonna be a little bit of knitting chat in the end, but I have to like talk about the yarn now, so I'm gonna mention a little bit of what I did now 2 weeks ago or so. Time flies. I visited Gunniren, who has the podcast Gunniren's Gunnis English podcast. She's the one who's designed the Gunnis aKnittersSoul, which I showed you last time, which is currently being tested for the English version. So hopefully next time I can tell you that it's released in English as well. Anywho, I was at her place and we dyed some yarn. And I dyed this one. And I had something totally else in my mind when I started dyeing this yarn. This is a Finull, Rauma Finull, so 100% wool, sport weight. It has, like, the main color is really like this sort of yellowy tone with some pink specks in there. You can see there's some orange going through. It is like a very warm, nice color. And I had thought about it. I mean, I had planned to use it originally, to use it in also color work jumper, but not in the one that I ended up being in. And the one I'm talking about is another design by Wenche Roald. It's called Rosa or Rose. Some noise in the kitchen, sorry about that. Rosa, Wenche Roald. Originally, no, she has two versions, but I've seen quite a few people making this kind of replica of where she has a white main color and this sort of a pink contrasting color. And I think that was kind of like my first initial thought as well, that it's gonna be in those pinky tones and white background. But when I came home with this one and I saw this kind of, yeah, I think this quite, it's sort of like what's it called? I will write it on the screen. Dark red. And I thought they were so good with each other. It get this great contrast. At the same time, it's picking up some of the pinkish specks, and like, I thought it was just complementing it very, very well. But also I knew that I only have one ball of this yarn, which is like 100 grams. And the pattern calls for 140 grams. I knew this by itself is not gonna be enough. So what I did, I went to the shop before my knit night on Tuesday, and I first picked out this one because there's some, it's kind of like this sort of peachy, it's not as orange as it looks on the screen, but it's kind of, yeah, there are some spots in there that are just like 100% match kind of thing. I picked out this one to be in the ribbing, on the cuffs, on the body, and also in the collar. And this is her. This is my Rose. Now, okay, I'll lean this side because, yeah, like, you get the seam there. Anywho, the reason why I went with this color is like, you know, I could have picked the yellows, I could have picked the more orangey tones, but I wanted something that was more of a subtle contrast to the red, so which wouldn't take too much attention. And I thought that was like a nice subtle thing to put in there. And also because I knew I was gonna have a little, like, I didn't have that many grams or yardage meters of the yarn, I thought that this part of the pattern I was gonna do in this color, and that color, by the way, is 4069 Rauma Finull. Oh my god, there. And I didn't like that. I wanted something more fresh, something that would pop more. So what I decided to do is actually pick up the pink specks in the yarn. You see that, you know, it matches those specks here and there without being, it's really hard to show on screen, I'm sorry. Like, you can see that, you know, it's picking up there a little bit, but yeah. And I think it's really, really pretty. It's turning out so pretty. And yeah, the base yarn is, here's the tag, is Lilla Silla. I really do love this yarn. It's so good to work with. I love the toothiness of it. It's not itchy or anything, but it's really good to work do color work with. I mean, I personally think it's so beautiful. I mean, I love it. I do. I think it's gonna be so pretty. So another Wenche Roald pattern. So if you're watching Wenche, just if, please translate your patterns into English. I'm sure you would have quite a good audience outside of the borders of Norway as well. So pretty, the pattern in itself, and I also love like my color choice and how it's working out. I just want to like look at this forever. And it just knits up so fast because I think it's so fun to see how it's kind of like not changing, but you know, I don't know, I don't have the words for it. I just love knitting on this. It's fun. There's always something happening. Love it, love it, love it. So that was actually it for my knitting content. That's what's off my needles, on my needles, which is that's quite a lot actually, I would say. So if the knitting bit is what you're interested in, this is where it's kind of done. I will go into some acquisitions, some more hand dyeing, and then I will talk a little bit in the end about yeah, what's been going on, I guess. So yeah, let me just lean over here. When we're talking about dyeing yarn, because Gunnar, she was such a gem and like invited me to her dyeing nook, like where she has her setup for dyeing yarn, and I got to dye actually quite a bit of yarn. And what I tried to do was having a concrete project in my mind. That's actually how I started with the yellow. I had a concrete pattern in my mind, but when I added the pink specks, it kind of changed in my mind. It didn't fit in the nerd that I had kind of made up. Anywho, I thought it worked out all perfect. I mean, everything happens for a reason, right? Anywho, beside the yellow fruit compote or fruit salad that I made, I also hand dyed this sort of a it's on a gray base, so you can actually, I think you can just barely tell that there's a gray base in there, and it goes from this sort of light pinkish to darker, it's kind of more like a heathered tonal yarn, and I have 3 of them, and I think it's so pretty. I'm really happy with it, the way it turned out. I didn't want to have any specs on this one because this one I have plans on making a peacock cardigan. I have talked about peacock solo before. I really like that, very subtle, beautiful, or subtle. I like the simplicity of the peacocks, like the cardigan and the jumpers and everything. And I think this is going to be really pretty. So that is the plan for this yarn in particular. I also dyed another 3 skeins. This is on a white base, and this is more like a denim blue with some specks of little, just like specks here and there with was it an indigo blue, I think it was called, and there's actually some pinks in there, but I added actually some rust specks there, but I can't really tell on these skeins when they're like skeined up like that. Anywho, I think it's pretty. I have 3 of them. This is 300 grams. Is also, if I didn't mention before, this is Finull by Rauma. Sorry, my PC is not acting up. I see my brother and sister talking there. So I actually have a plan with this. The original plan which I had was like I might want to make another Weekender by Andrea Mowry, but when I came home I revisited this pattern, and this is what it's gonna be. And this one calls for was it a DK weight? Let's see if I can quickly find it. Yeah, no, doesn't matter. I just found that I needed it. It's a heavier weight yarn that's used on this jumper. So I'm gonna actually be pairing what I dyed with this mohair from Sandnes Garn, Tynn Silk Mohair. And what is fun with this, which I didn't notice the first time around when I was looking at this pattern, that this is actually called a word called soe, which is an Estonian word for warm. Or as it says also in southern region of Estonia, it's also the word for wolf, which I did not know. I do not speak any of the dialects that are down in southern Estonia. But yeah, it's funny how I fell for this jumper. I didn't even like connect the dots, but yeah, it is actually an Estonian word for warm, and I love it. I think it's so beautiful, and I think it's gonna be beautiful in this one. I mean, don't you agree? I think it's gonna be beautiful. So those are the yarns that I dyed with an intention for something. Also, what Gunneren does every time she has some people over, like nitty crafty people over, and if you do some dyeing in her basement, in her nook there, or dyeing basement, then she has what she calls a mop, where you dry off all the excess dye that's either on your hands, or if you're testing out the color that before you add it to the pot. And this is kind of like the mop that's kind of like it's just basically starts off of as a white non-dyed yarn, and what she does is that at the end of the session you divide the yarn in two, and then I, the visitor, get to choose the pattern for a shawl, not the shawl, but a shawl that we both knit. I think it turned out really pretty, and it's even prettier when it gets to like hang loose to see all the colors in there. And I do have a shawl in mind. I have shared it with Gunneren. I'm gonna put a picture here that is probably gonna be. But we had another mop, which is this one, which I have not decided on what I'm gonna make out of yet, but we'll see. I had a lot of fun dyeing yarn there, that's for sure. So those were my hand dyed yarns. Also, she was a little bit like, here, I don't like this. If you want it, you have it, you can have it. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I actually have a pair of mittens in my mind with this one. I think it's gonna be perfect. And I'll show you. Oh, I didn't grab the pattern. I'm gonna have to post a picture. But there is a mittens pattern that's, I think it's called blueberries, and I thought like this deep purple with this, I think it's gonna be so cool. Like this deep purple is gonna act as the blueberries in the pattern, and then having this sort of like green blue heaven there as the background. I think it's gonna be cool, having the solid berries and kind of like this base of a forest kind of. I mean, no, it's not typical forest, the colors, because it's like, yeah, but I think it's gonna be so cool. Like, how can you say no to that? I mean, it's so pretty. I think it's gonna be fun. So I also went to the knitting market here in Oslo. I'm actually not remembering now when it was, the date. Anywho, I went through there very quickly, and I decided to pick out a skein from Hettestrikk, this sort of a pale. I seem to be like, I'm not a huge blue person, but for some reason I am gravitating towards some blues. I really like it. I thought it was a very nice kind of calm. No, it's not a good description. I thought it was a pretty blue with some specks of green in there. I might have an idea of putting into a shawl, and maybe there's gonna be one of my Rumpelstiltskins. I don't know. Does it have? Well, it's just the colorway is called Våren 23 blå, which is like the spring 23 blue, and I think it's a 2575 blend. Yeah, superwash blend. So see what I make out of it. Ooh. I thought it was very pretty. It's like I have some quite a few skeins or hanks I can pair it with, so I'll see about that. And I also picked up this one. I am in a blue phase of sorts, but also like corals and things. This is from Garnfene. This is when I was there for a knit day. I just fell in love with this sort of, it is actually how it looks on the screen, this quite deep, intense blue with these specks of green in there. And I kind of want to say, like, I've spoken about this, the Gardens of Givenchy before. I'm actually contemplating maybe making one out of these. Or this, I mean, not these, but this. I don't know. I'm still, like, on the fence. I love the version that I've seen by a podcaster called Karianne. I always want to say Anna Karin because that's one of my co-workers I used to work with. So I always have to stop and think before I say her name so that I say it the right way around. But yeah, this one is actually called Holmfoss. Foss is kind of like waterfall, so I guess it's a local waterfall of sorts. I think actually, like, come to think of, Heidi was talking about it. Sorry, Heidi, I've forgotten. You're gonna have to remind me. So those are my acquisitions. Oh, I do have to mention this one as well. Sorry, that was fluff in my throat. This one was gifted to me by Gunniren as a thank you for helping her out with the pattern. Also because I had been eyeing this like really bad the day I saw this one on the market a couple months ago. I was wearing my Koivu light and it was just like a perfect match to that. And I absolutely fell in love with this. But also like I can't have two of those, but then she gifted it to me and it has this pretty blue lining in there. Very practical, very lovely bags. You know, just throw your knitting projects in there and good size. Very good. Like, you know, your phone, your wallet can go in there and your project in there and whoop, over shoulder and off you go. So it's a very practical bag, you know. You know. I don't know what happened to my speech there. My vocabulary just got lost somehow. And to finish off my acquisitions, I guess, is I'm gonna talk quickly about Villasilla yarn because I have been sent quite a bit of yarn from the shop owner there. So this is sponsored. This is a gift. This is not something that I bought. But I asked him if I could get more colors so that I could like show you some more colors. I've actually given away a couple of them already. And I see that there's one ball that's a little bit far away. Let me see if I can grab it very quickly. This one here as well, because I know you do some green as well. So I'll just do like this. Yeah, can't really tell, but there's a lot of like the colors are so beautiful, so rich, and they are like, I'm not gonna say that 100% true on the screen, on my screen, but when you go on to the website, I found that the colors that I saw on the screen were pretty much true to life when I received them. It's like some, yeah, because this one is like a dark cerise kind of color. It comes off a little bit darker. Flamingo pink. And you have this sort of, I think it is called bone white, if I'm not wrong. So it's kind of like beigey white. And it's, it looks to be a bit different from, I don't know, I think I haven't asked, I should have asked. Like, I think maybe there is some natural color that's blended in there. And they smell lovely and sheepy. I love that, like proper barn sheepy smell. And white. And the yarn I grabbed there was this green, which is I think a salad green or pear green. I'm not 100% sure. I've forgotten. I think maybe it's a salad green. And it is actually quite this bright as you see it on the screen. And I love it. I think it's so cool. I'm thinking about having as an accent color in a knit along that I'm going to participate in. Yes, I think it's really cool. And you have this petrol, which I think is so beautiful. It's really good petrol. It's more green in real life than it shows off on the screen. It looks more blue on the screen, I see. But yeah, I do love these yarns. I love working with them. I think it's a very good quality yarn. I can recommend it if you like working with woolly wools. And also I thought I'm gonna share this unspun yarn. This is quite a thick one. I can't actually recall now how many meters it is, but it's not many meters. See, it's quite a thick one. I'm gonna have to find the email where he sent me the measures and write it on the screen, I think. But it's so soft, so lovely. I'm not sure what I'm gonna make out of it yet. I'll figure it out over time. Or maybe if you are interested in trying out this one in particular, I could gift it to you. Maybe I should do that. Do a giveaway on this one, just so that you get to experience this yarn if you're interested in. Yeah, this is like this unspun pre-yarn, but just a thick version of it. So yeah, I guess that is it on the acquisitions and knitting. And yeah, I've done quite a bit of things. Yeah, I guess we're going over to the life. I'm not gonna be talking about in length because I actually am gonna have to leave house soon. But yeah, I was to this day in Kvelde, which was hosted by Garnfeme Yarnshop, and I love coming there because Tone and Heidi, they are such wonderful, sweet, warm and loving people, and the knitting community is such a warm and loving place. I do have the tendency of maybe becoming a little bit shy and quiet if I don't have anybody that I know from before. But when I have somebody I know there, it's a little bit easier for me to come out of my shell and be more fun and participate more. And yeah, so I do recommend those knit days that they have. So if you have the time, the means, the desire to meet like-minded people, then I do recommend going there. And yeah, check out their store. They have a lot of beautiful yarns, good quality, lovely colorways. I like them because they're quite I would say quite easy to work with. They're not too crazy, but you get like some interest in there. Like there's quite a lot happening there without it becoming very like hard to maybe put in the garment or make something out of it, or you know, I think it's gonna knit up really pretty. I don't know if you know what I mean. You know, sometimes it doesn't matter. I can recommend the yarn and the people. It's a lovely shop. And I ended up spending pretty much the whole day there, and me and Gunniren, we were the last ones to leave the knit night. And then I actually went home to Gunniren's place in Telemark, which turned out to be like a retreat couple of days. And we knitted, we watched podcasts, and we laughed, and we visited this beautiful, beautiful knit store that is in a barn, an old barn that the owner has cleaned out, like, you know, whatever remains there were from old days, and she's built it into this beautiful shop where all of her, you know, like the way she showcases the things in the shop are like maybe in old buckets or old like cases. It's very thought through, and she has a very good choice of yarns, and in particular from the oh god, it's called Sandnes garn. So it's not many different producers, but she has the full range of Sandnes garn, and yeah, it's worth a trip to go and say hello. She also has knit nights and some courses I think she holds. I'm not 100% sure. I think they were talking about some courses. And yeah, it was lovely. She's such a sweet soul. It's a lovely place. I can absolutely recommend going and check it out. We went there actually on 2 occasions. First, we popped in just to like say hello and look at the shop, and then we went back the next day for the knit night. That was very sweet. With lovely company there. Had some coffee, did some knitting, bought some yarn. That's where I got the tin line from my plant lady. And actually I did buy another colorway in tin line, but I will show you that when I start working on that. And yeah, I got to meet her daughter and her cat Puma, who is a very particular young man. He likes cuddles, but not too much. And I think it was only one time he came over and sat in my lap and sat there for quite a while until I made the mistake of moving just tiny tad, and then he left me because, you know, offended. How could you, while I was here. And I also got to meet her daughter's new tiny little pup called Mikita. Oh, it was so adorable and beautiful and wonderful, and I was like, oh, I want a puppy. But yeah, I'm not gonna get a puppy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of love having animals, but yeah, right now in my life I'm okay with having just Sara here once in a while for visits, and yeah, maybe one day, but not quite yet. But yeah, I had a wonderful time being there because she understands me on so many levels, which is really, really lovely and absolutely divine place to be. Like, it's so quiet there and serene, and I mean, just thinking about it, I'm getting all relaxed and calm and happy. We did have a little bit of adventure there as well. We were heading to the town where her daughter lives, and we had a flat tire on the way. Yep. The car adventures, they keep on carrying on, both for her and I. And when we called for like help, they were like, oh, you're lucky that you're gonna get help now because everything is closing down now at 3 o'clock. And we were like, what, so early? But yeah, no, we came into the town like royalties, as you'll see from the footage that I'll post later, or maybe I'll post it while I'm talking here. And yeah, it worked out. We got to change the tire. We got to drive back, and her daughter had friends over because she had her 19th birthday that she was celebrating. And yeah, everything worked out just perfect in the end. But yeah, it was a little bit more excitement than we had maybe planned for that day. But all in all, it was wonderful stay over there, and I do hope I get to go back there because I love and adore this woman. She's so wonderful on so many levels. And she truly is who she seems to be on the screen. So yeah, I just love that part. It's like what you see on the screen is what you get in real life, and it was absolutely wonderful. And we actually ended up making or like filming a podcast in Norwegian with her on her channel. So I was not surprised, but I was curious how that would go, you know, like how the screen chemistry would be, because I'm usually all by myself speaking in English and not Norwegian. Not that Norwegian is a problem or by any means, it's just like my go-to has been the English podcast, speaking in English. But yeah, it worked out just fine. It was fun. I think myself that we had a good chemistry. I hope that translated through the screen as well. But it was such fun stay, such lovely days, and I was thinking about being there for 2 days, I think it was, and I ended up being like 3 or 4 nights. So yeah, I stayed there for a long time. I had a good time, you can tell. I wasn't like rushing back home. So yeah, and since then I've had a knit night, another knit night with some other ladies. This is where I was working on my plant lady. And I just love the community that has opened up through this channel, I think. Just feeling the love and acceptance of the community, finding like-minded people who pretty much breathe and sleep and knit. That is our mojo. That's what we do. We just knit and eat and breathe and then repeat. Well, sleep as well. So yeah, I've had some lovely experiences these days. I've been really tired as well, I must admit. Like, you know, even though I've been able to take things slow and in my own pace and having people understand my situation, I still want to be part so much and participate in so much that I end up depleting myself a little bit. So, but I'm not complaining. It just, you know, I just have to take it a little bit slower for now, regain my strength, refill my batteries, and yeah, you know, enough about that. I just want to say, like, you know, I love the love life, or like the community that I've been so blessed to come into. And I'm gonna say, like most podcasters say, that, you know, don't hesitate to reach out and don't be afraid to say hello. It is, I mean, it's such a blessing, and the only way of really meeting people is putting yourself out there and saying hello and allowing yourself to be visible. I'm not talking that you necessarily have to do the podcasting thing, but don't be afraid to say hello to people that you look, I'm not gonna say look up, that was not what I was going for, but we are normal human beings like you and I. So if you feel like saying hello, come over and say hello, and I will happily talk to you, spend time with you. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going here. My mind is starting to wander off in all kinds of directions. What I'm trying to say is I've had a good time since last time I podcasted. I've had a few beautiful meets with and greets with people. I've knitted some. I've gone all over the board with Wilfreda. Like I said, I have another one planned. Maybe I'll leave it for later on, but who knows? So suddenly I'm not going to be able to contain myself, and it's going to be another one on my needles. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up because I'm just rambling by this point. And also, I know some of you have mentioned that, you know, my eyes look off to the wrong place. I do have a tag on my phone, but I'm a human being. I'm doing my best, and you know, I do try to look you in the eyes and not myself. But I do my best, and hopefully that is good enough for you as well. And I am open for feedbacks, and I will always try to improve. But I'm trying to give myself some slack because I tend to be overcritical, and yeah, hard on myself. So I do hope you enjoy what I do, and I hope you enjoyed also this time around, and that you'll come back for another episode next time. Wishing you a lovely end of the month, and a lovely June in not many days now. So yeah, happy knitting, happy gardening if you're that type of person. I'm sure you are. Quite a few of you, I mean, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to hang up. Happy knitting, happy gardening, whatever is your jam. Enjoy your time going forward. Love you for coming here. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Det er ikke lov å strikke mens man kjører.
Det går bra.
Det går bra. Ja, det går bra.
Noen får maske, det går bra.
Ja, det ser jeg jo.
Det har du lært meg. Det går bra.
Det går bra. Ja, vi krasjer jo tydeligvis ikke. Men det er jo den farta, og vi møter biler, og det svinger, og ja, du kan holde i rattet en gang. Nei, heldigvis så trenger vi ikke det da. Vi har noen andre som styrer for oss. Da går det bra.